All right, guys, this is the CLNS Media Patriots Roundtable. I'm your host, Nick Qualia, sitting here with Marv and with Mike Molyneux. The question today, Bill Belichick's legacy. So I heard some people talking about this on Twitter. There's some videos. I saw some comments on the video, and it sparked my brain a little bit thinking about it. And Bill Belichick's legacy. So for the past 20 years, it's kind of been cemented. Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. And I don't think anything that happens over these next few years without Tom Brady is going to affect that. But now we're just talking about the legacy that he's built up for himself, already being the greatest coach of all time. So, guys, with Tom Brady not in the picture anymore, now that Bill Belichick is going to have to try to win with another quarterback not named Tom Brady, if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't have success post Tom Brady, does that affect his legacy in any way? Mike, let's start with you. What do you think?
Nick, you just used the word that pretty much sums up the answer to this whole question, and that is cemented. His legacy is cemented. Now, obviously, the media, we're here in the media doing the conversation is going to be there. If Brady is successful or not successful, Belichick is successful or not successful now that they're apart from one another. I don't care if Belichick doesn't make another Super Bowl appearance as long as he's coaching. What he's done the last 20 years can never be erased. I don't care what kind of players have come and gone. At the end of the day, his title of head coach and pretty much, in a sense, general manager of this New England Patriots team cannot be erased. He could have a team that, let's say, he's 67, 68 right now. Let's say he coaches another 4 seasons. And those 4 seasons, they never make the playoffs. Am I all of a sudden going to say, well, Bill Belichick sucks? Because he didn't have Tom Brady, we found out that Bill Belichick sucks. I will not. And I pity the fool who says that, because you're forgetting what he's done from 2000 to 2000 and pretty much 18, 19? Like, come on now. We're not going to just forget about that, even if he doesn't have success. Again, like you said, cemented is what is there for Bill Belichick, and it will never be erased. I don't care what happens these next couple of seasons that he continues to coach. We know that Bill Belichick is the GOAT of head coaches.
Now, you mentioned something I didn't necessarily mention, but you said, what if he doesn't make the playoffs over these next 4 seasons? By the way, I feel like he's been 67 the past 20 years. He's been this exact age for a long time. But if he doesn't make the playoff for 4 years, I mean, he will. The word cemented is perfect. He is forever the greatest coach of all time. But that will cause some question whether or not a bigger piece than we gave it credit for. Obviously, Tom Brady's a massive piece to these Super Bowl wins over these past 20 years. But if he doesn't make the playoffs over the next 4 seasons without Tom, then that conversation will be drummed up. Maybe Tom had a bigger role in this than we originally thought.
And you know what's crazy? Just something that came to my thought real quick. If you think of all the Patriots Super Bowl appearances or Super Bowl wins, the teams, especially the ones that have been very successful, they've been known to be more defensive teams. Who's the defensive-minded coach that's been leading this team? Belichick. And that doesn't take away from how great Tom Brady is and his career, but these teams have been defensively built, especially when they make it to the Super Bowl, those years they've made it. And that just adds on to his legacy that is cemented even more. Just to want to put that out there as well.
All right, Mike thinks Tom Brady sucks. Marv, what do you think?
Finally, it's not me. Belichick is in his Wizards years, meaning all he can do is enhance his legacy. He can never diminish it. So when I say Wizards years, I'm talking about Michael Jordan. Jordan went to the Washington Wizards. He didn't make the playoffs. It didn't tarnish his legacy whatsoever. But had Jordan take that bum-ass Wizards team to the playoffs, it would have added to his allure. It would have added to his legacy. Like, oh my God, look, Michael Jordan brought Rip Hamilton and whoever else was on Kwame Brown. That's it. All it would have done is enhance Jordan. Nothing got taken away from Jordan. Bill Belichick, Brady's gone. If Belichick takes, especially this year, he takes this team losing 6 guys, losing Tom Brady, bringing a new quarterback without preseason whatsoever. He brings them to the playoffs. It's bigger than anything. It's like, wow, Belichick is really the GOAT. He loses all of these pieces and he has a turnaround. And this is what happens. If he doesn't make it to the playoffs, it's like, well, this team, he didn't have much around him this year. We still know what he's capable of, and we know what he's done. He's in his Wizards years. It can only enhance from here. It cannot get taken away. And I think the same thing is for Brady as well. Brady and Belichick, their legacies are cemented. Nothing can get taken away from them for what they have done in a large body of work.
What a ricochet shot at Rip Hamilton. That guy is just sitting at home. No, we're talking about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. He just gets a ricochet shot of a lifetime.
That was a young Rip. That's a champion.
No, I mean, the entire conversation these past 20 seasons, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, they needed each other to build up to what they are today. They are both the greatest of all time at what they did. And I think if the Patriots, unless they go 0-16 these next 4 years, but if the Patriots, going back to what you said, if they don't make the playoffs at all, that's one of the worst case scenarios over these next 4 seasons or whatever, however long Bill Belichick is the head coach of the Patriots. That's not going to touch his legacy. It can't touch his legacy. There is nothing at this point. It's gravy. It's all gravy at this point.
All gravy.
These guys have shown the league that they are the greatest to ever do it at their respective spots on the football field. There is nothing, there's very little these guys could do to ever tarnish that legacy. They're already the GOATs. They'll be fine. But let's live in reality. The Patriots are probably going to win the AFC East this year. I would think so.
Yeah.
They'll probably figure it out over the next few seasons too. As long as Bill Belichick is the head coach, which goes back to him being the greatest. As long as he's the head coach, I've got no doubts of this team. None. Anything else before we wrap?
Not for me.
All right.
I mean, questions will arise. Like you said, Nick, people will bring up questions, but at the end of the day, those questions will get answered very quickly, and people will understand when Belichick goes to the Hall of Fame, no one's going to talk about his latter years if he didn't make it.
And make no mistake, too. I mean, if there is a question, it's going to be a small group. It's going to be a bunch of faceless people on Twitter where they just troll all day long. It's going to be that group who will be questioning the legacy of. It's all going to be like, Phillies fans, Giants fans with like just the logos as their Twitter profile pictures. They are exactly who is going to start tarnishing the legacy of Bill Belichick, if there's anything to tarnish, because there probably won't be. All right, guys. CLNS Media, Patriots Roundtable, Nick Qualley, Marv on, Mike Molyneux. We're going to be back next week for another set as we inch closer to the season, as long as the MLB can figure their crap out and they don't start getting overrun by COVID cases, because I'm worried that's going to scare the NFL. Again, Nick Qualley, Marv on, Mike Molyneux. We'll be back next week, guys. Thanks for watching.